All right. All right,
we're back.
We're back. We were on hiatus.
For a long time.
We were on hiatus, hernia.
Yeah.
Totally.
9 months. It's been probably more than that. Almost a year since we've done a FauxCast.
Really?
Actually, not quite sure.
The emails we've been getting from the fans has been deafening.
Oh, I know, and we really apologize.
The emails has been language. Let's explain a couple things. I have a camera here. Then I have a screen there that I look at where I see myself. I look at that over there to see that. And I look at this over here to see the hustler.
And I look this way to see the lab coat guy.
Well, that's not a very nice shot, is it?
Which is, I don't know, it's double chin. Which is...
it's not a double chin
totally
situation.
The opposite side.
But the video is only there so that people can see us, so that if they don't listen to the audio podcast, if they're, really... They have an Apple TV, they're at home, they want to watch something, they want to see two middle-aged men talking to each other, this is the perfect opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, my name is Randall Lobb. I am the lab coat guy. And you are?
I'm the hustler.
The hustler.
Mark Hussey.
We used to always call ourselves the lab coat guy and the hustler because fan problems, stalkers, whatever.
Yeah, all of the above. And we've decided, you know what, let's risk it all. Put our names out there. We have nothing to hide.
I have a couple things to hide.
Well, we all have secrets. Everybody has a scar to hide.
Yeah, but this is we're changing up the format. What we want to do is have a story-based format because people love stories. I love stories. You love stories. Children love stories. Everybody loves to sit or stand or lay or maybe walk on a treadmill and listen to stories or share stories. And I would describe our lives as shockingly interesting. Wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, and part of that is because we're shockingly old. Well, not shocking. Shockingly is not the right word to use there, but
it's not shocking to get to this age.
It's life experience. There's a lot of life experience, and so we've got a lot of stories to tell.
But you know what else it is?
What's
it's
that?
When we were born.
True.
It happened to be but everybody says this. Everybody probably dramatizes what my life is the most spectacular life. Everybody thinks, even if their life was that they just waited for the weekend so that they could get their 2 days off and have a beer or whatever they do. The reason why we think we're old is we've mentioned this before. Life expectancy in 1900 for a human male in North America, 47 years old.
That's crazy. Like, we're almost dead.
I hope not. It's probably gross for me to drink on mic.
Doesn't matter. We're just being ourselves. We have nothing to hide.
No, but we already established we do have things to hide.
Well, that ain't one of them.
And he used the word ain't as a kind of a vernacular. So we want to talk today about technology because of that whole thing. In 1900, you lived to be 47. Today, we're almost 47. And we don't even think about it being the end.
God, no. I think being halfway, it's
the halfway
it's halfway point.
You're middle-aged. Yeah. So the question becomes, we want to tell some stories about how technology has played a part in our lives. Technology is huge in my life. I know it's huge in your life. Not just because you are right now surrounded by 5 computers and 6 monitors or whatever. And not just because we have all these cameras and cables and mics. No. Why don't you start us off? Technology story. By the way, for the people that are listening, the people at home, this podcast will be the most interrupted story podcast of all.
For sure.
Because I don't think one of us can allow the other to talk for a while without wanting to at least kick something
jump in. Well, that's why we're sitting here talking then.
Yeah. So technology, go. What pops into your head?
Technology, if it wasn't for technology, I have no idea what I'd be doing. It was technology that when I was younger and started playing around with computers that I realized, one, I had a knack for it. Like, my brain automatically understood. Really? As soon as I touched a computer, it was like, I understand what's going on here. I understand how to create with it. It was almost like an innate thing. Like, for some people, maybe picking up a guitar or playing a piano or something like that.
What was that first computer?
The first computer that I actually owned was, I know a lot of people would say Commodore 64. For me, it was the ColecoVision Atom computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the story behind that? How did that happen?
You know why I wanted to get a ColecoVision Atom? When I saw the Commodore 64, and of course at the time the IBM computers were out, the x86s or the 8088s.
Yeah.
And when I saw the Atom computer, what I liked the most about it, it looked like a real computer. Like it had a separate keyboard like this, and it had a little cord going to the CPU.
Even though you didn't know that computers were going to be like that.
No, and it was just like that really appealed to me. I want that computer as opposed to a Commodore 64. Plus, I had a ColecoVision and I could play my ColecoVision games.
Right. What year was
this? Oh, gosh, that's a good question.
Well, I come up with really good questions. It's the known thing.
That's got to be like late mid 80s. Would that have been
late mid 80s?
Well, I'm thinking. At first, I was thinking.
Look at him searching.
I gotta look it up.
He's actually googling when he got his first computer. Who would have put that online? You got your first computer.
Atom.
This is so now we've got a new podcast where the podcast is about searching.
Yeah.
Where did you get the ColecoVision Atom?
I remember that was a big deal. 1983 is when it came out.
Right. And did you jump on it immediately?
I did, and if anybody wants to see a photo of it, there it is. That's the ColecoVision Atom.
There it is. It does look like a computer.
You know what I mean? And that's the key. See, if you see the keyboard there, that's the thing that sold me on it. I want that
keys
keyboard.
Look like they're huge.
Yeah, and it had the tape drive, as you can see. So everything loaded in on tapes,
for sure.
cassettes.
And you did it in that little basic program thing.
Yeah, it was all basic, and I had a printer for it. And you plugged it into your TV.
You had a printer?
Yeah, it came with a printer as well.
That's crazy.
So it was like this whole package. And when you compared it at the time to even buying, an Atari or even a Commodore 64.
Right, it looked like a good deal.
It was like a good deal.
Okay, so how did it change your life? What was the deal? What happened?
Well, from that, I started learning how to program in BASIC. And because that's what you had to do. So I started writing programs. And in high school, I guess I was just coming into high school at the time. They had a computer class which taught BASIC. And it was one of those things, again, where I grabbed onto right away. Like the teacher would give you a problem, and I just instinctively knew how to do it. Like I could write the code, and they would give you complex math problems. And that's all it usually was problem solving. I'm going to pretend you're over here. They give you complex math problems, and my brain would just attack that, and I would learn how to write. I could write the code to come up with a solution, and I think that gave me a sense of confidence at a younger age, because it was, besides music, which I'm also very much into, technology seemed to be something that, hey, I understand this. Like, it makes sense to me. It's almost like, and I know you're going to say the same thing, but I've been waiting for you my whole life.
Well, that's my line, isn't it?
I know. And
so you got the Coleco Atom, and you felt like, this is something I can do something. Like, you had things to do with it immediately.
Yeah, and I would write little programs just to solve little problems and things like that.
I have a funny question for you.
Yeah.
How did it? And we can't dance around this. You come from a very religious background.
Sure.
How did the technology mesh into that?
Yeah, well, at the time, that's a good question. I think
I'm known for my good questions.
I think that I created an online Bible, like a Bible, a searchable Bible. I would have my notes that I was, and they're probably still somewhere on tape drive. Actually, there was a 5 1/4 floppy that you could add on that I eventually got for the Atom.
You wrote an online Bible.
I didn't write an online Bible, but I think that there was, I can't remember if there was software. Online is the wrong word, actually. But I think there was.
Before the internet.
Before the internet, I wrote an online Bible.
That people could search by, tapping in.
Yeah. And I don't like that just went to sleep over here.
Well, things go to
but it's
sleep.
still going good.
So you meshed it into your religious.
So I would use
work
it to
or whatever.
write. I would write things and then print them off, which was a big deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that would be when you were in high school.
Dot matrix printer.
That sound was so grinding,
yeah.
so great.
Yeah, this would be the beginning. I guess grade 8, and then into high school.
But you haven't answered. Kind of for me, the question is, why did you like it? What did you like about it?
About the computer?
About
The
way, like you could make programs, you could print stuff out. There must be something more than just the use of it that hit you.
I think it was the interaction, and really was the use. Like I would just spend hours, writing basic programs,
Right.
and playing games and stuff too, of course. And I think because I was kind of a loner too, that was where I lived. Like I'd be in my room playing with my computer,
playing with yourself.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way, folks at home.
No.
For me, technology was transcendental. Like it literally took me out of the problem or whatever you want to say. I feel like I was the kind of kid that always was on the outside of everything, and I was so like I looked at myself. I didn't do things. I watched myself do things. I was never part of stuff. So when we would go somewhere, even somewhere like, you go to your grandma's or whatever, and my cousin would say, hey, let's go to the park. I would not just go to the park. I would go to the park thinking about going to the park and watching myself go to the park, and then thinking about, what if there are other kids at the park and we have to talk to these other kids at the park, and oh my God, I'm going to have to do like somehow have to transition into this interaction with these kids. So I was always questioning everything I did. And somehow for a person who had this incredibly self-conscious way of living, suddenly technology, I don't even know what I'm getting at, but I remember seeing Pong in the early 70s. It couldn't be that super early, but it was when it was like maybe 74 or something like that. My dad put Pong on our TV, and for someone who's used to watching everybody else on TV and watching himself, I was in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the TV, I'm in the game.
Right.
And it took me out of this thing of watching myself. So it was almost like a relief or something.
Right.
Somehow I was, I don't know which one it was that we had.
Was it the Atari version?
It was the one with it was little paddles that you had, and this feeling, and there was an overlay that you could put on the TV so that it would be different games, right? Like when you put this this game, and this overlay is that game. And there was this sense of interaction, and that lettering really rings a bell. If that's up, is that what everyone's looking at right now?
I'll just bring it up for you here right now.
Because that lettering,
there you go.
I seem to remember that lettering.
That was this one here.
Yeah, it must have been that game. Anyway, there was this real sense of engagement that I wouldn't get from a lot of other activities. And I got it from reading books. And I may have got it from, I don't know, watching some stupid movie or whatever on TV, some Western or something, and I might engage in that level. But often when I would watch TV, I would also read a book. Like I was always looking for,
right.
I can't just do the one thing. I have to do more stuff. But somehow when I would do that, it would be like so consuming. And then in 81, we had a teacher at the school, and I think it was 81. I'm in grade 10 in 1980. And this guy, whose name is Stephen Oliver, teaching at this high school in Clinton, Ontario, he buys an 88.
Right.
I remember it being stunningly expensive. Like I could not believe that, he had this, and he said, hey, do you want to a group of us, do you want to come and look at it? Do you want to see it? I said, yeah, I want to see it. Like this is unreal. And we went to his place, and you see that tiny little screen, and he put on a game called Zork.
Right.
That text adventure from Infocom. I'm telling you, I couldn't. Like, it was totally life altering for me to see Zork. And I remember that blinking cursor and that text came up. I mean, I remember, like, I literally felt like I was outside of my head in that thing. Like I was in that world. How can something like that happen from a blinking cursor?
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to sit there all the time. And I kept trying to think, how can I get over to that place?
And that would
try
have been
that out again.
that would have been probably a computer looking something like that
the
right
amber,
there.
The amber.
Yeah, the amber letters.
It was
5 1/4 floppy.
crazy to look at Zork. And you know the thing about Zork that people in our beautiful world that we have now, where you can interface with a computer so easily, and games are so much more intuitive. An enormous. And remember before when I was making up my words instead of enormous, enormous, but that was in the version that we got rid of this. An enormous part of the game was figuring out how you could deal with that parser, the language parser. So you'd see that screen, and now you have to figure out what to type. And I don't remember there being a lot of help telling you what would be able to communicate with the game or what wouldn't.
Right.
So you'd have to figure out some language to talk to this stupid game.
So let's just take you back for a minute. You're west of the house. You're standing in an open field west of the White House with a boarded front door. There's a small mailbox here.
And you would have to type something like open mailbox or whatever.
Right.
But there was a way that you'd have to type it. You'd
Yeah.
have to match what they had decided would be the thing that would have to be said. And there weren't that many options available to work.
Right.
So I never finished that game.
No.
And right now you can go to YouTube and people do it all in 7 minutes.
Yeah, crazy,
a
eh?
speed run of Zork.
Yeah.
This game, I swear to God, I feel like we played this for years trying to figure out how to deal with it. And die, and die, and die, and die. And then you'd be typing curse words and it would say, oh, I'd sooner kiss a pig, or, you know, how can you do that? And it was just so engaging. And it was like I woke up, you know what I mean? I'd been asleep and all of a sudden I woke up. Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it really took my brain, sorry about bang. It took my brain to a place that I could not have anticipated going. And I had Atari and I played Atari, and it was, you know, it was fun. And I played, you'd go to an arcade and you'd play Asteroids or Tempest or Defender or any of those games. And you'd spend too many quarters and you'd be sucked right in. But there was something about that blinking cursor.
Oh, you stupid.
You're joking.
Okay.
Quit?
Oh, no, it did. Oh, it did.
At what point?
Let's find out.
Was it when you started doing this checking? Type. And I don't remember there being a lot of help telling you what would be able to communicate with the game or what. Go to YouTube and people do it all in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
What I'm supposed to do. And it really took my brain, sorry about bang, it took my brain to a place that I could not have anticipated going. And I had Atari and I played Atari. And it was, you know, it was fun. And I played, you'd go to an arcade and you'd play Asteroids or Tempest or Defender. Or
Okay, so that's where we continue from. Okay, this time it was this stupid virus checker opening up.
Can you not have it so it doesn't do that?
Yeah, I gotta just like turn all this stuff off.
What I was getting at is that only that program comes up. Like, how do you track music safely?
Oh, I normally would have all that turned off. I actually have a set. Like we're just moving too fast. Like we came in here. I'm trying to get it.
I get it.
These are things that I would have.
I get it.
Typically all set up. So we apologize.
Oh, we're back in now?
And we're definitely back in now. And you were talking about the
going to arcades.
Arcades.
So you go to an arcade and, you know, you spend all your quarters on Defender. You spend all your quarters on Tempest and Asteroids. Or do you remember Pitfall?
Yeah.
The laser game?
Yeah.
And again, unrelenting, brutal games that are so difficult.
Yeah.
And it's torture.
Yeah.
But that was nothing like this text adventure. And for me, the ones that came out after that, you know, there was Zork 2 and Zork 3, and there were a whole bunch of those, and they were all appealing because you were inside this world, which was in your head. And that's always, for me, that's what I had been looking for all along, right? I mean, when I watched Planet of the Apes, I was in the Planet of the Apes. When I read a book, I'm in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, which why would we go into now, I did not want to be in Clinton in 1979 or 1980, 81. I didn't hate my life. I didn't hate being there. But on some level, you want to be in that computer, in that place, wherever it is. And that's one way that technology totally impacted on me is here's this little kid. And when I'm the kind of kid that at the time I was into like Vietnam War or UFOs or the Kennedy assassination. So I'm down at the library and I'm pulling out books and all of these things that are arcane and bizarre and mysterious and interesting. And you have to really work hard to get them. But here's this computer and you can get into this place.
Right.
Almost like so little work in a sense.
Yeah.
And you're in this crazy world where Zork is or whatever the game is, right? And it wasn't pumping quarters in and playing this little stretch.
I think that's a huge part of it too, having that at home, right? Even though it wasn't as advanced as the arcade. It was that you have it there. I don't have to pop a quarter into this. I can play it whenever I want.
And just be pulled in.
Yeah.
And for me, the second part of that was getting that Commodore 64.
Right.
And then you know, load star dot star and load 8 something comma 1. There was this sense that you were doing something that was futuristic and interesting that other people weren't able to do. And I bought my Commodore 64. You know, I worked and I saved up money and I bought this thing. And I really felt like this is my ticket to some real good times.
Yeah.
It's so strange. And my buddies had one. And we go over there on a Friday night. Other kids would be out drinking and, you know, driving around and probably doing things that weren't good for them and probably doing some things that they thought were a lot of fun that a lot of other kids would have wanted to do. And I just wanted to go and play summer games. Do you remember summer games?
I do remember summer games. Yeah.
64, and you do the dive.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
have to try
yeah,
and
yeah.
wiggle that
They had
stupid
summer games
joystick.
for the Atom.
What a game.
Yeah.
So stupid.
That's funny. I remember that one.
And such a jerky motion.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. The thing that when I talk about my Commodore 64 days with my buddies, the road is one of the things I talk about is this game called Space Taxi. And it had voice in it. So you'd hear.
Right.
And like you'd laugh at the dumbest things. Somehow on some level it was super entertaining. You know, you sit around, you wait your turn, it's your turn to dive, and you know, I was Bulgaria or whatever, Australia. I remember the little anthems, they'd play the national anthem and the sound was so
Right.
spectacular.
But at the time we thought it was amazing, right?
It was amazing at the time.
Yeah. And you know, and here we are with all this technology now today, which we think is amazing, and it continues to wow us. That's, I think, the thing about technology. Like nothing else, here we are this many years later.
Well, it's evergreen, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's still every announcement you're sitting almost on pins and needles going, oh my God, I can't believe
Yeah,
we
it's exciting
have
as
this now.
that first Commodore 64.
It is.
But you know, there's a side of it, like we're kind of talking about fun and how the fun was transforming or transporting. But there was another side to that tech that was so huge that it also dictated my life. Is I was not necessarily a good student. I was a good thinker and I was a great reader, and you know, I was the kind of kid who had things to say, but I couldn't write very well, and I couldn't really sit down and write an essay. And I remember sitting on my dining room table and listening to music that I was literally doing research to try and figure out what music can I listen to that will let me write this essay.
Right.
And I remember playing Haydn's Water music on a record and playing it and thinking, okay, this is going to take me into a mental place where I can sit down and write. And I have bad penmanship and I get crampy fingers and I can't write an essay, you know, very well at all. And I would struggle, or felt like I was struggling, and I would get, you know, reasonable marks on some subjects, but other subjects, terrible. Well, as soon as I got a computer and I could type, and I really wasn't until university that this was more common, that I had a printer and everything else. I just had this feeling like I can write. Now I could write any number of pages, it seemed, you know? Mm-hmm. And it looked real.
Yeah, that's very true. There was something, I absolutely agree with you. In fact, I'm not a writer, but I I tried to write, like I fancied myself as writing some articles. I did write some articles back in the time for some different publications.
Are
and
we
so forth.
talking about in
Yeah,
religion?
yeah. And my column was called "Mark My Words."
What? Now you got to say what publication you got.
I can't remember. It was just some newspaper. Like it was
an
like
actual newspaper.
Yeah, it was like a newspaper dedicated to those kind of things.
Was it a church
Yeah,
newsletter?
yeah, yeah.
Sort of thing?
Like a newspaper.
And so it would be desktop publishing, right?
Yeah, and I would be,
awesome.
but I could, by looking at it on a screen, I could write far better than trying to write.
This is a thing that no kid now would be able to figure out.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
it legitimized your words.
That's right. It made it look real, like you said.
Yeah.
It looked like a real book. It was real font.
When you think about being a little kid and you get a pen or a pencil and a teacher's in a way marking your hand and the scrawl of your words on a page without the content of it being important. It was like the format is the problem.
Yeah.
And you look at your format, you think this sucks and this I don't know, somehow I couldn't get by that page. Like I'd always say, and you maybe did this too, I'm going to start my novel. And I was always going to write a novel, and I was into Tarzan books. I'm going to write like a Tarzan novel, only it's going to be like Kontar the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd sit down and I'd start writing, and I'd get down to about 18 lines and be like, "Oh my god, I can't look at this. It looks stupid, and it's not real." But then when you sit down at a keyboard and you look at the screen, here's this thing that looks like a book, and you could set it up in a way that was legit.
And you could copy and paste. You could go back ahead, and type things ahead of, and all those kind of things were just new revelations to us at the time. Did that come
later?
It did come later, but you could. I'm trying to remember the programs, like the different computers. I was just trying to find my first PC was this fold up, like it wasn't a laptop. It was like it had a full keyboard. And it was like basically a keyboard and then a little wee screen, like a tiny little, maybe 5-inch screen.
And it was an IBM.
I'm sure it was an IBM.
Wasn't it called the PC Junior?
Maybe it was.
I seem to remember.
It was an 86. It was an 8086 or a X86. It was before 286, right? Whatever.
Yeah. I remember after I got out of university and I was about to go into teacher's college, and I'd had that head injury, which save it for another day. But so my life had changed really dramatically in a very short time over the period of a few months. And I had to kind of walk away from my old career or whatever. And I remember sitting at my parents' house back in Clinton after living in Toronto for several years. And I was waiting to go into some kind of summer thing that I was going to do prior to becoming a student teacher, going to teacher's college.
Right.
Or no, it was after teacher's college. I was waiting to go and become a teacher.
Yeah.
And sorry, everybody, there's a year or two that are fuzzy because I hit my head. I had amnesia. I was in an accident. And I remember sitting in my mom and dad's house with an early computer. It might have been a 286 or something like that.
Right.
And playing computer games. And I didn't have a job yet. I didn't really have to get a summer job because I was going to get my man job in September. And I remember sitting there and, I don't remember hygiene being a big deal. I don't remember being, fraught with responsibilities. I just lived in that box in a way that was so grotesque and so... Like I remember having this feeling like this is not healthy.
Right.
Like this, I could be pulled right in here. This could suck me right up and hold me in there. But that's the way everybody lives now,
Yeah.
Like that's literally what happens. And it's just the way it is. And I should point out that I remember one day as I sat there, and at the time my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Nisa, was over in England, and she'd gone to school in England for a year. And I remember thinking as I sat there, I'm going to go visit her in, 2 months or whatever. I had bought a ticket, I think in a month and a half, 6 weeks. I got up, I turned off my computer, not the nice way, like I just hit the button, and I walked down to the travel agent and I said, I want to go to England. And she said, when? And I said, right now. And I did.
Nice.
I went to England.
And
I'd never been anywhere. I'd never done anything. And I just remember looking at that screen of the computer and thinking, I'll just sit here every single day until somebody either pushes me out of this chair or I do something. Like I remember feeling so gross. And that's, I guess, the dark side of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you sit there too much.
I sit there way too much. I think I'm starting to pay the price.
Yeah.
In my older age, starts getting some physical problems that are totally from sitting in this chair way too many hours.
But it's so absorbing.
It's so absorbing, and time flies by so fast. It's almost
crazy.
It's like a time sink. Like it's insane how much time you can spend just tweaking something. And I don't know if that's the same for kids today.
Well,
you
look
know,
at a
with
kid playing Black Ops.
Right.
Like
I
my
mean,
son
amazing.
plays Black Ops, and you tell him an hour's gone by. He's like, what?
Yeah, yeah. I guess it is the same for them that way.
If you could have seen Black Ops when you were 10, you would have lost your mind.
Yeah, we would have.
I would have freaked out.
It would have been insane.
I would not be a human. I would not be an adult. I wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah.
They put up with an amount of technology, an amount of awesomeness that we could never have imagined.
Yeah, it's incredible. Though I think that, and like kids today aren't going to have the same stories.
Just wait. I love kids today. Here's the thing. Kids today, you kids today. You just don't get it. No, they won't have stories like we'll have. They'll have different stories.
They'll have different stories, and it'll be something else.
Can we just quickly, and I know that we're getting towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the opposite of technology.
Sure.
What did you do as a kid in the place of Black Ops? So let's look at my son's 11, 12 years old. What did you do 11, 12 that would be the opposite of these kids playing Black Ops?
For me...
Tell me one story.
Okay, well, definitely, instead of playing Black Ops, we did have video games when I got a bit older, in television, ColecoVision, all of those kind of things. Mm-hmm. But even then, you never spent much time with those. What we would do, and I come from a large family, so what we would do was play outside and walk in the woods and build forts, and we made up games.
I want you to tell me about how you traveled through the trees.
Oh yeah, and
Reculation.
And I wish I probably still could do this, but we lived in we had a cedar forest all around our house, and what I would find myself doing, it was climbing up to the tallest tree and getting up to the top, and you could get them swinging kind of like this. And they were close enough that I could swing the tree over and then jump into the next tree and then jump into the next tree. And it was kind of a game I would play with my brothers and sisters because they would see me go up a tree. You know what I mean? And next thing I know, I'm like halfway into the back of the bush.
That's unbelievable.
Up on the top of the tree. And it gave you this feeling of power too. Like I'm a superhero. Like I'm a tree jumper,
Would that be your name, tree jumper?
And I fell a few times. But what I discovered though is with cedars, there's so many boughs. Like you could always, like I never hurt myself seriously. I'm sure that, that was just knock on wood, but that's where it came from. Oh, right.
When I was that age, I had this. I would describe it as I wanted to be in a war so bad. Like I wanted to be in a battle. Like a kid now is in a battle playing Black Ops.
Oh, absolutely.
I wanted to be that kid so bad. And you've heard me say this before about World of Warcraft. I literally was waiting. Like I actually, when World of Warcraft came out, I looked at it and said, yeah, that's what I've been waiting for. There it is.
Yeah.
And the same I might have said for Black Ops, although I can't play it because it makes me nauseous. But I wanted to be in a war so bad, which is so stupid and so unrealistic. But I would convince my friend, I won't say his name, to shoot arrows at me.
Right.
And then I would try and like dodge them or catch them out.
Yeah.
Do you want to say what you're doing?
No, it's fine. I'm
okay.
As you can see, I'm not even on screen.
So I would say to him, okay, you're going to take the bow and the arrows. And I want you to shoot me. But not too hard. Don't pull back too hard because I have to catch it.
Right.
Or I'd take the bow and arrows and I'd go out and I'd shoot them straight up in the air. And then I'd have to go under this woodshed thing, this wood pile that had a tin roof. And then the arrow would drop. But I'd shoot it straight up in the air.
Right.
Like, what am I doing? I wanted to have to dodge arrows. Like I had this deep need. I got to dodge the serious arrow here. I want you to be shooting at me. Or, I was trying to inject gas into apples and light them up and then throw them and have them explode.
Right.
You remember that feeling?
Oh,
like
man.
you want
That brings back so many
memories.
memories because I blew up many things. Do you ever have your room on fire? I had my room on fire. I would get chemistry sets and mix stuff together without reading any instructions, and you'd have crap exploding all over the place.
Well,
it's crazy.
We tried to burn down Richard and Wesley Delph's house without meaning to. Like what we did was, I had a can of gas. We were down beside their furnace, right beside like my back is up against the furnace,
right?
And we have this can of gas, and we have syringes, needles and syringes, and we're injecting it into fruit.
Right.
And we're going to make these flaming apples. And by the way, to throw at people. Like there were people who we had apple wars with. And I said, okay, we're going to blow these guys up. We're going to light them on fire.
Nice.
And the other two guys are like, okay, we're in their basement and we're injecting these apples. And I don't know how we got to this next phase, but I remember that Richard did something, and then there's fire, and it's going up his front, and it's going into his hair and face.
Right.
And there's fire, but it's contained on this little workbench area. Remember, his furnace is right behind us.
Right.
Been oiled.
Yeah, probably.
And the little brother Wesley panics, and he takes a basin of water and dumps it on the gas fire. So where does it go? Right up.
Gosh.
In front of Richard. And I grabbed something like a towel or something, and I put it out. But his eyebrows and his eyelashes and the front of his hair was all burned up. And I remember this feeling like, you know how, like,
right.
you know that feeling? And you think, this is too fast. This is going too far too fast. And you have to respond really quickly. And I remember this feeling like, maybe it's not good to inject gas into these fruits.
Right.
Maybe... Like, I know it's bad. I knew it was bad from the start, but like maybe we're out of control. And we were, but no kid now is going to inject gas into fruit or try to. I think they're going to know that they shouldn't do it. Now they talk about claymores and sniper rifles and stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't know about claymores.
No, we didn't know anything about that.
At a Molotov cocktail that I did make and that I did throw, but I wouldn't have known about a claymore. What do you have that laugh for? Why do you have that secret laugh?
Because I keep thinking that, and this will only be funny for people on the video.
What?
But like as you're talking, to like go to this shot.
Editing. Yeah. Look, I want to say something about my teeth for the people at home. For the people at home who have the video, look at this. I've had braces.
Wow, those are good teeth.
No, they're terrible.
Oh.
So what was I going to say? We're talking about technology. Technology also has been like, I got 2 hips. I've had my hip replacements.
Crazy.
Technology in there. I had braces. Technology in there. Right.
Yeah.
My kids had technology. He's got a prosthetic middle ear. Like, technology isn't just to have fun. It isn't just to, distract us. It doesn't just teach you how to write or allow you to write. It doesn't just do that. I wouldn't be sitting here,
Yeah.
Like it's
crazy.
It's crazy.
It is.
Dad had a heart attack last year. Technology.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
It gives you a lot of hope, I think.
The
only way it can be scary is if all of a sudden the technology goes away, which
so
that
awful.
dependency we have on it is insane.
If we had to go out and hunt,
yeah,
and you had to tree jump
like
again.
Yeah, well, maybe we still could, and good thing we have that history and those abilities.
I'd be injecting gas apples for sure.
Yeah, I mean shooting rockets, and I did shoot a guy with an arrow once. Kid, yeah.
Where'd you get him?
I got him right in his leg. It went right through his boot.
Get out of
and
here.
Stuck in his leg, and that's a whole other story.
That wasn't me.
Of course, that was my neighbor.
You were constantly fighting
where we used to
with
live.
these guys?
Yeah, we did. We had kind of this war with this other family.
I know that exactly.
And I mean, I can't believe I didn't get. Like, if it was today, I would be thrown into jail. I mean, one time we locked this guy in a room for about, I would probably 6 hours. We locked him into this shed, and I had it all rigged up with microphones and stuff, so I could record the conversation and listen to him in my listen to them in my room. And I should actually try to dig out those cassettes because
You
I
have that tape.
probably have them somewhere. And it was just like him yelling, like it was horrible
This is
in
terrible.
hindsight. But at the time, I'm just sitting there going,
You got them.
because I'm listening. Because I would do that. That was something I would do with technology. You know, you look at what we have here today, but I was doing that back then with old tape recorders and microphones, anything I could find, and I would sneak them into my sister's rooms and record, and then I would, I would bug phones and bug
That's
stuff,
hilarious.
and I'd have cassette.
We should have known each other then.
Yeah, I had cassette catalog of all this stuff that if you found that today, you'd say this guy's a stalker or he's like crazy, right?
Well, I would have been arrested too. Well, do you remember pellet guns?
Oh yeah, man.
Did you used to shoot people with
Yeah,
them?
I've shot people with them. I've shot windows with them. You know.
Right. You ever been shot with a pellet gun?
So maybe it's good as you're saying this. Maybe it's good that kids have video games. You know what I'm saying? Like when we were
made some
young,
bad
because
decisions.
and you'll know more about or better than I. But maybe there's something in us in that adolescent time or just pre-adolescent time where we feel the need to be violent.
Yeah,
Do you think?
probably.
And so
Probably.
it was all good fun. I think back in the day. But
It's good fun for us.
yeah,
I got a buddy who was wrestling with his friend and detached his retina. So there's a
Right.
guy right now wandering around with he's blind in one eye.
right.
And we all know that kid. Like, I got a friend. I won't say his name either. I hit him in the head with a stick hard many times in a little scrap that got out of control, and now he has epilepsy.
Right.
Did I cause it? I don't know. I'm not a neurosurgeon, but I think he thinks so. So you get tussling, you get doing some stupid things. Nowadays, kids shoot each other online and wear headsets and call each other.
It's probably the same
whatever
thing, though.
you
It's
do.
that same energy getting channeled out. And there's debate, what's better and all that kind of stuff. In some ways, in every generation always looks back to the good old days. I was thinking,
Well, that's going to be basically what we're doing in this podcast.
yeah, it's kind of what we're doing. But like when we were kids, even when you were like 6 or 7 years old, you were pretty much on your own. You were doing crazy things that,
I don't think there's any doubt that I was a feral child.
yeah,
I was not a human being.
and your parents, it wasn't that they didn't care. For some reason, maybe they trusted us more.
Think there
I don't
wasn't
know.
As much Listen, I can tell you a story about when I was a kid that is so insane, and let's let it play because this is insane.
Yeah. I'm listening.
I moved away from a part of town when I was about 5 years old. So this happened when I was 4 years old.
Right.
Which can't be possible. There was a strip club on the outskirts of Clinton, and it was called the Elm Haven, and I lived really close to it. And it was right at the edge of town. So my house was like 2 or 3 blocks from it.
Right.
And I lived in a tiny little wartime cottage.
You can see where this is going.
And I wanted to go in there and smoke and eat and look at naked ladies.
Right.
And I
that's
called them naked ladies.
Right.
And
of
I
course.
had to be 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who lived over in the subsidized housing right where I used to live, right across from or behind us.
Right.
And I knew him as Man. His name was Man. Because he called everybody man. He'd be like, hey, man. And I think my mom has told me, I think this guy died in a car crash.
Right.
He had a 68 or 69 Camaro. And it could be that it was that year. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I was born in 65. And this guy would dump his ashtray, and I would go and pick up butts and then try and get lighters or matches from kids. Or from men. I'd be like, these older guys, can you give me a light so I could smoke this cigarette butt that I pulled out of his dumpings?
Right.
And I wanted to see the strippers. Anyway, this is 3 or 4 years old, and I'm walking down to Elm Haven, and I got a bathing suit on and bare feet. You remember how you never used to wear clothes?
Right.
I was probably covered in mosquito bites, all scratched and bloody and dirt, and they oiled the gravel roads back then, so you're walking in this oil and your feet are all black with oil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Absolutely.
about? And I'm walking over there, and I see to the right there's the strip club, and I'm like, I'm gonna go over and look in and try and look in or sneak in, or like, what am I gonna do? And I look on the right, and there's this swamp by a barn, and the barn is where they said that a guy went in there with a horse.
Right.
That was the quote. There was a guy that was in there with a horse, and then he hung himself. And I remember thinking, there's a guy in there with a horse. Why would he hang himself? But he died in there.
Right.
And people would say, yeah, you go in and you can see there's blood still on the rope. And I was scared to go in and look at this. Right.
Yeah.
But so I walk out into the swamp, and you were told, don't go out in the swamp.
Right.
You stay away from the swamp. It's a bad place to go. So I'm out there in my little bathing suit. And if you go through the swamp from across this barn, there's the back door of the strip club.
Right.
And I'm going to sneak in the strip club.
Nice.
And I'm going to see these naked ladies. And there's no plan.
Yeah.
And of course, I step on a broken beer bottle in this swamp with my bare foot. And I cut my foot open. And I think, now they're going to know I'm in the swamp going to the strip club. Everybody's going to know. And I didn't know what to do. And I remember I was up to my knees in this hideous, it's manure, like, you know what I mean? It's by a field and a barn, and you remember those manure pools?
Yeah. Oh gosh,
it's like that sort of swamp.
Yeah.
So I turn and I start running, and I run past the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, and I'm going up this oiled road, and I got this great big gash in the bottom of my foot, and I'm picking up dirt and gravel and oil in this cut, and I think, I can't tell my mom what happened, because she'll know I'm trying to sneak into the strip club. She'll know I'm in the swamp. Yeah. And I'm running up the street, and I was with these two other boys, Robbie and God, I don't remember the third kid, Robbie and Greg. And Robbie runs home first, and I'm trying to run, and I'm running in my cuts, smacking into this oiled road, picking up these stones. And he runs home and gets his mom, and his mom, sorry, I guess I was off mic. His mom comes to get me, and I guess she called my mom, and my mom comes by with a towel in the car. And I remember thinking, oh no, she's going to find out that I'm trying to get into the strip club. And
That's
crazy. Of course, she's just thinking that you're cut, but but I was actually trying to do that.
Right.
Like, I'm like a little animal. I'm not like a human being at all. I want to see naked ladies. I want to get smokes. I want to get chili.
Right.
By the way, that was another thing I thought I'd get is chili. I'd get a bowl of chili in the strip club.
Well, someone obviously, said that. Like, that's what they, some construction workers or
it'd be like
people hanging around your parents, and I got a bowl of chili or at the Rippers. Whatever. Or maybe one of the girls' name was Chili. And
yeah, right. Back then they had names like Nora. And they'd be like twice as old as your mom.
Crazy.
Think about this. My mom's 24 or 5 when this is going on.
Oh, I thought you meant now.
Yeah, my mom is 25 years old, and I'm 45.
No, I thought you meant twice as old as your mom now.
140.
Crazy.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, kids nowadays aren't feral children.
No.
Some of them are, I'm sure.
No, it's a totally different world. And I'm undecided whether that's good or bad. And having a little child now,
I would not want your child to live like we used to live.
No, but at the same time, I think I don't want to be as afraid of the things that it seems like we just shelter our children. Listen, like we keep them within our 4 walls because
I shouldn't even say what I'm going to say.
Sure.
I used to try, and I'm 4. I used to try and get girls to take their pants off. What's wrong with me as a child? I was 4 years old.
I don't know.
I remember this conversation. I could name these people.
Crazy.
These are girls my age and girls older than me.
Maybe that'll be our next podcast, talking about girls.
I don't know if we want to.
I think we should. That'd probably be pretty interesting.
It would be bad. Do you think when we come back we won't mention names? So.
Oh no, we won't mention names.
What kind of 4-year-old does that?
I don't know, man. Well, I know your parents, and they're good people, so I have no idea.
Did anything bad to me or abuse me or hurt me?
Well, maybe our next podcast will get really down and heavy and deep and into some dark stuff. And try to discover the why of that.
I don't think we want to go into the why of that.
No, I like the why though.
I think it's just because I was an id, right? I was like Freud would say, it was just my id was running loose.
Right.
I had no checks or balances.
Yeah.
You know how I wrote my autobiography? I didn't put the part in about me trying to make, I don't think I put in about me trying to get girls to take their pants off.
No. Well, now it's known. This is a little snippet that you can't find in the book.
Maybe
which, speaking of the book, when will it be available?
Well, I don't know.
All right. Well, we're sitting there at 48 minutes.
That's too long. I apologize, everybody.
No. That's a good story. And I don't think we'll edit it.
We're just going to go wild.
Because I think our new thing is we're just not going to edit it. It's just, here it is.
It's naked.
Yeah,
it's
naked.
Like it's like those older girls I tried to get them to take their pants off.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey.
And I think we strayed a little bit from the technology thing, but...
We were talking about the absence of technology. Can
Right.
I just say publicly, I'm sorry that I did that. If you're out there, I did. You were older.
You know
than
what?
Me. You should have known better.
Oh my God.
You were sorry too.
Yeah, I'm really sorry too.
You tried to do the same thing.
Not the same thing, but some crazy things. Now that I think about when I was in public school,
you're burning things.
Oh my God. Yeah.
What?
I can't talk about it.
Listen, I can't. Okay, you know what I think we learned?
Yeah, what's that?
That the technology is good. It stops us from being feral.
That's right.
It's the only thing that protects us from
ourselves.
If the technology all disappears overnight, I will revert to being that animal running loose through the swamp.
You know, I bet you that's true. And you could take that even wider. If society crumbles, it'd be very interesting to see how long it took us to become animals again.
No time,
you know,
for me. Listen, you know it, and I know our parents were nice, moral.
Oh, absolutely,
kind,
amazing.
Gentle,
still
loving
are
people who were so good to us, and yet we were just beasts, creatures, not even human in a way. I'm surprised that we were allowed to function. Like we should have been put into some kind of cages or something, or barracks. Or. And when I say that about you and me, I don't know that you were like that. I was like that.
No, I definitely was. I definitely had some of that stuff going on, for sure.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up.
And technology saved my life.
Technology saved me as well. It gave us a new lease on a real life.
Absolutely.
Okay, so thanks very much for listening and or watching. If you stuck it out, you are a good person. Yeah. I respect that.
Thanks a lot, and it's nice to be back, and we look forward to coming into your house every week. Take your pants off, girl.
No, don't say. Did you close on that?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So,
oh. Girl, please don't take your pants off.
Sorry.
Please, girl.
This is the real ending. We apologize.
I can't believe you did that.
You know we're kidding.
Can I just say something before we end?
Yeah.
We're not drunk. So it seems like we progressed to like that was tea. Like it seems like we got giddy after a while.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Really? Like
well,
giddy.
It is late.
Is it?
It's 11:30.
Okay. Everybody, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Catch you on Flip.
Later. Bye.